I don't like accidents. I don't like improvisation. I like to just do it. I find the concept of this a bit uncomfortable because I feel like it's someone else's responsibility to say their favorite shots of my movie, not mine. There is a shot that I am comfortable saying that I like in The Witch, which is when William and Catherine are burying Caleb. There's a wide shot of the farm. There's a grave dug under a little tree. It's nice and misty, and the chimney smoke from the cottage is sort of mingling with the morning fog. It's a pleasing image. There's a lot of frenetic energy before that shot. This calms things down. They're burying their son, so it's very somber, and we stay on the shot for a long time because of the somber atmosphere and the emotion of the scene.
It were a wolf, Sam.
A witch. I've seen her in her riding cloak about the wood.
Father showed me the tracks.
It was a witch.
The pacing of The Witch in general is fairly glacial, but this is even more so. The Lighthouse is shot in 1:19:1 aspect ratio, like a nearly square aspect ratio that comes from early films. And it seemed to kind of say like this movie's old, but it also adds to the claustrophobic environment. It's also good for framing vertical things like a lighthouse. It's also good for the close-ups in the film. And of course we shot on black and white negative and used a special cyan filter to evoke a feeling of early cinema. We also used some old lenses that would be more evocative, including some Petzval lenses. Ours were not from the 1860s, but the Petzval lenses were designed in the 1860s. These are all tools just to help you, like the production design and the costume design, be transported to another world, another time and place. I've had the great luxury in all of my films to kind of build the world. In the building of the lighthouse, we needed to understand the shots that we were going to have, so the lighthouse was built to accommodate these shots. Because me and Jaron Blaschke, my cinematographer, pre-planned the shots so much, we don't tend to have a lot of happy accidents. I don't like accidents. I don't like improvisation. I like to just do it. But the more control you have over where you're shooting, the better, especially because Jaron and I like to do all these complex camera movements.
Watch us spill your beans.
A lot of times it is visual effect shots that you put a lot of time into, especially with these smaller films. This shot where we take a doorway dolly out of the top of the lighthouse onto the catwalk, and there's a storm outside, and we find Robert Pattinson, who we dolly behind, and then we see a figure wearing spiky lumberjack boots and a Mackinaw coat, and he goes down and flips this guy over, and Robert Pattinson looks at himself, and that was challenging to figure out how to do. That's another reason to build things aside from the architectural specificity of the period that I'm trying to articulate. The raid is my favorite shot sequence of the Northman for sure, which, took a tremendous amount of planning. We had the village staked out where we would have the buildings, but we were constantly there with a director's finder and eventually even like crane and track to understand like where exactly we needed to put every building in order to accommodate the blocking of the fight, to like see the whole thing in one long fluid shot. I think we shot the raid itself in 2 days, and then the aftermath in another 2 days. But which the first day was just blocking it out, and then the second day was shooting it. Like with all my work with Jaren, it's very carefully storyboarded, and the main actions that Amleth does, the things, who he encounters, is all like carefully planned. And then when he leaves frame and we follow the children who are hiding under the lean-to and come out, all that stuff's planned. But then C.C. Smith, who is the fight choreographer, when you do a movie like this, the stunt coordinator becomes another authorial voice in the storytelling. And so he one of the things that CC's so good at is creating like background chaos. You know, the main stunt performers that are doing the actions that are in the foreground of each shot, they've been rehearsing for a long time and they know exactly what they're doing, but then the other people come in on the day. And so he is very good at creating immediate chaos in the background, but he's able to very quickly fill in the gaps and make it very fluid. I saw Nosferatu for the first time when I was 9 years old. You know, I was very impressed with Max Schreck's performance and the haunting atmosphere. And, you know, because I was watching it on a VHS that was made from a bad 16 millimeter print, the whole thing kind of felt real. I suppose that contributes to some of my choices of how I shot The Lighthouse in hindsight. When I was 17, a friend of mine and I directed like a high school play of Nosferatu. A guy who ran a local theater company saw it and invited us to do a more professional version of it at his theater. And that changed my life and cemented the fact that I wanted to be a director. And since then, Nosferatu's been sort of like a big part of my identity as someone who is endeavoring to make creative work. But then I started about 10 years ago to try to turn it into a film. It's a challenge to make something that's been adapted so many times, but you also have certain opportunities because you get to see what always works, what usually works, what never works, what's sometimes missing. But obviously it's daunting to take on something like the Hutter or Harker character going to the castle and meeting the vampire for the first time, because that has been done very well, you know, in the past. Obviously I employ a lot of long unbroken takes in my films. And I feel like some of them in the Northman, like the shot that I said was my favorite, like draw a little bit too much attention to themselves for my taste. I like it when these long shots are a little more invisible. And I think for me personally, I feel like they're a bit more invisible in Nosferatu. And the first shot starts with like a close-up of Lily Rose Depp in a black void. And you don't know where she is. She's crying. It's mysterious. Then she emerges and you understand that she's like in bed. And the camera moves around and follows her towards a window. And there's voiceover and there's sound design and there's subtitles because like there's somebody speaking like an ancient language, and then all of a sudden there's, you know, the camera comes around another angle and the curtains are blowing and there's a shadow in the curtain and then Lily's levitating, but there's more subtitles you have to read. So all these things that are happening are making you less aware of the fact that this has all been one shot. But also this one shot is kind of setting up the tone of the film and the new take on this story, which is from Lily Rose Depp's character's point of view. If it's not my favorite shot, it's certainly, I think, like an effective shot for what it needs to do. There's different things. I mean, there's following Lily's breath. There's obviously all the sounds that Orlok's astral presence is giving us. One of the major sound things that we spent a lot of time in the mix getting right was the sound of the curtains blowing to distract from some things that were going on, but also make sure that you saw Orlok's shadow in the curtains because there's so many other things to look at as the shot is progressing. That the sound of the curtains is mixed a little higher than normal in order to like suck you into that part of the frame, for example. The shot from Tarkovsky's Mirror that, you know, follows the kids through the house and the glass falls and then you see, you know, through the doorway the burning barn is a very good shot. You know, you can find like 47,000 YouTube videos about why it's a good shot. I don't have anything particularly impressive or important or original to contribute about why that's a good shot, but why that movie is so effective for me personally is that Tarkovsky does such a wonderful job of putting his memory on screen in such a specific, detailed, atmospheric, clear way that suddenly the memories of his childhood become the memories of your childhood. And that is, you know, magical.
For more directors picking some of their favorite shots from throughout their filmography, check out our interviews with Ridley Scott and Alex Garland.